Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's February 20th. I'm out here in the greenhouse. Today I'm going to talk about preparation for planting, just transplants in general. And I'm going to work a little bit out here with my onions, getting them ready. So let's get after it. By now you're aware of the freeze we had. And you can see the edge of these onions on this side and partially in towards the interior. The freeze has just devastated them. They weren't covered good by the row cover where they were at on the ground here. You can see this one's a little bit towards the edge is brown, and these that's close to the edge of, up here are kind of brown because that was extremely cold that it got. And we knew the tomato plants that we'd put out here didn't make it, so we're just going to have to replant these. But most of the other, the brassicas and stuff, did pretty fair. You can see how some of the leaves are brown on them, on my dinosaur kale and such, where the row cover was resting on them. It'd been better if it had hoops set up, but like I say, I just wasn't really prepared enough for it. But anyway, I'm going to finish up these onions, and then we'll go in and talk about some more planting. And then I'll probably combine a few other video clips in here from different times where I was starting a few seed planting tip videos. So I'll get this finished and then we'll get into it. Okay, I got all these trimmed down. I trimmed them kind of tight. Now I'll get them watered up and move on to something else. Today I'm going to be potting up some of these plants here. Now these are my way early tomato plants and some pepper varieties that I wanted to try to grow early. Now these plants, and if I can give you an idea of how big they are, these plants are about 3 inches tall, maybe a little bit more. A lot of them are, some of them a little shorter. But these are, it's been 2 weeks since these were the seeds were planted. And each one of these, I had planned one seed per hole, but sometimes you get seeds and they're stuck together, and that happened in a few of these. I have one seed here that didn't germinate on these red snappers out of these 10 plants that I planted. There's 40 plants in all. Now, what I want to talk about is, now I planted these peppers in here because I plan to take these other seeds out and pot these up, but you see how small they are compared to the others. Now, being they have bright light, they're doing okay, but preferably you wouldn't want to plant them in the same pot because peppers take longer to germinate and they are just a little bit slower growing. So knowing this, you need to make sure, and I actually have an onion that got in there somehow, but they're slower growing, so you don't want them to be overshadowed. You really want to keep them in a separate tray. But as far as all the tomato varieties, you could put them together. And if you wanted to grow these up bigger before you transplant them out, that's fine. A lot of times I transplant them when they're smaller. I'll grow multi plants in one cell. Now I did have a few of these that the seeds were probably stuck together. I've got a couple right here in this one, and I've got a couple right up here in this one, and I'll have to either separate them, plant them separate, or decide to just get rid of one of them, whichever way. But planting single seeds in a tray is, like I always say, you can tell germination rate. But that's what I'll be doing today. I'll be potting these up, and I'll show you that process again for those that don't really go back to the older videos, or new people that just catch the newer ones. When potting these up, I need to decide what size cell to go to. Now normally when I pot up, I would pot up into a 2.5 inch 9-cell tray. And that would be fine, and I could leave them to that until they they grow out. They would have a nice set of roots, and they wouldn't be root bound. But because of the weather and because it's early, I don't want to risk having them in here for too long and start to slow them down for growing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into these 4-inch pots. These 4-inch pots will give them quite a bit of grow time. So if they end up having to be in here a couple, even 3 weeks, it won't slow them down. They'll have plenty of nutrients, and they'll have plenty of grow room until they get put out. Because what I'll do is I'll eventually take these out to the greenhouse and put some row cover over them in the greenhouse so they're double protected, and see how well they survive. Because like I say, the tomatoes, planting them this early is an experiment, so we'll see what happens. And let me get these potted up. All right, we're going to plant these. Now, they should have a pretty good amount of roots. Now, I don't like to really wet mine down before I plant them because of the material I use, unless I've let them really root in for a long time. But what I do like to do when I plant these is go ahead and get rid of these lower leaves. Those first leaves, take them off. And that should be sturdy enough to hold it by the stem, no problem. And I've just got a little dirt down off in here, and I'm going to just push this in here enough that it sits steady. And then what I'm going to do while I hold it, I'm just going to put the rest of my mix in here. And what I'm using is compost. I have a good compost. I've actually mixed a little chicken litter in here and some mineral dust, so that this will have all the nutrients that it needs. And then once I put this in here, and I kick out the little piece of wood I find, but I'll take and push this down just a little bit, not real hard, but that way I plant it as deep as I can in here. It'll start rooting from the top. It's already got the roots from the bottom, and I'll continue to do that with the rest of them. I'm going to go ahead and let my peppers grow a little longer, but I'm going to go ahead and continue and plant the rest of these tomatoes in bigger pots and let them grow here for a while. Now, when I'm talking about these tomatoes rooting from the top when I plant them deeper, all these little hairs all the way up the stem will start rooting in. That's one of the advantages of tomatoes for rooting. We always plant them deeper so that they'll have a larger root surface and root area. If you like this video and you want to see more of these videos, please comment down in the comments possibly what you might want to see. If you do this a different way, comment, let us know, so other people will have a variety of information from different people. We all do it a little bit different. Also, if you subscribe, hit that bell button, you'll be notified whenever I have new videos out. And if you hit that like button and share this, that really helps me, my channel. Happy gardening.